Oh, you're on live.
Hey,
Jeff.
we are on live from Austin, Texas. I've got my Kent, Ohio shirt on.
Oh, really? Well, I got my Gonzalez rental shirt.
That's right, Gonzales, Texas.
Nobody showed up for you tonight, Jeff.
Well, maybe like I said outside, maybe they figure it's a lost deal down here.
Well, I hope not after 15 years. I hope it's still going to go on a little bit longer. You've been on the air 22 years.
But it's not looking good, Mike. Not looking good.
That's what I heard.
Just based upon the rumors and the information I've got.
And
Channel Austin, Austin's premier cable access television station.
Maybe ACTV needs to go back stealing money like they were before. We had 24-hour service, and all the everything was perfect when they were stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars down here. Now they put the guy in jail for stealing all the money, and now we're cut down to 4 hours. They cut it down to 8 hours. Now it's going to be 4 hours. So maybe they need to go back to stealing some money again.
That was John Villarreal. Right?
I'm just throwing that out there for option, maybe. But
the point is, folks, if you're watching over the internet on channelaustin.org, this is an Austin, Texas broadcast that's been coming out of here for almost going on 23 years, and next week could very easily be the last Jeff Davis show.
And there's a lot of people
from Channel Austin.
A lot of people came out of this place too.
Oh yeah,
a lot of famous people came out of this place.
And they're looking at two of them right here.
Well, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking more like Alex Jones and what was that other guy?
Oh, there's been all kinds of.
Oh, it's a lot of people. So.
Well, you and I have gotten our share of exposure.
I hope that this place continues whether I'm here or not.
I do too. But I stand by what I said a few weeks ago that if for some reason the Jeff Davis show falls by the wayside, then that'll be the end.
I heard they're not even going to have any live shows down here anymore.
Yeah, that's one of the rumors, yeah. So it'd just be like the access station in Akron, Ohio, where you just submit tapes.
Just submit tapes to like the other 500 channels. Nothing different.
Yeah. So these studios where we done live shows, we used to thousands and thousands,
2 or 3 a night. Now
viewer calls.
Now you're down to about 30 minutes. Then they take a minute off each end of it or something crap like that. So whatever y'all want to do, let's just keep driving this place into the ground.
Well, let me say that this is a good opportunity, Mike.
And all the people that we've known and grown up with down here are all leaving.
Well, this is a good time to give thanks. First off, Mike, I want to give thanks to the God of Abraham, my Lord and personal Savior, Jesus Christ. For it's my perspective, and this might make you angry because some of these.
Why would your opinion make me angry? It never has before. Well, I can care less.
It does. It does some people, well, shit! I forgot what I was going to say. Now I do this every show.
Well, it must have been a lie then.
No, it was. I wanted to give thanks. Because this is what I was going to say. Because from my perspective, yours truly has lived the most incredible life in the history of mankind. Second only to Jesus, of course.
Are you sure about that?
I'm sure about that.
Okay, well,
if
that's your perception, that's your perception.
I elevate the importance of my life over historic biblical figures. Moses, Jacob, Peter, Matthew.
Okay, that's your opinion.
That's right.
What this place is down here for.
And so I want to give thanks to the God of Abraham for such an incredible life, and for the many opportunities I've had. I've had many opportunities in my lifetime: radio, television, acting, film, commercials. The whole 9 yards. And the God of Abraham gave me the talent to execute those particular projects that I've done. And so, thank you, God of Abraham. Secondly, I want to thank my family and friends over the years without Jeff Jr., there would have been no 22-year-long show. He's know,
good.
You know that, don't you?
How old was he when he started?
About 8 years old.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, he was 8 years old hauling equipment down this hallway way back in like 1993, 94. But my wife supported me.
Can we get a shot of Jeff Jr. in the control room?
My wife supported me over the years. My daughter's been down here for hundreds of shows helping out. And then, of course, there's people like Mike Hansen who have really taken the show to high levels with your involvement. Well, and you started back here, what, about 1993 or 94?
It was fun.
We started in that cable cast, didn't they?
Over there.
Yeah.
We might be back in there before it's over.
But, I mean, just think of all the people that have come up through this show, like that have contributed. You, Alex Jones.
And there's been a lot of people that are not
George
here anymore.
Humphrey. Oh, yeah, all kinds of people.
What's that one FBI guy? Ted Gunderson.
Ted Gunderson.
I heard he died did you know I heard he died?
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, I heard he died not too long ago.
Really?
Yeah. And he's been right here in the studio. There's been so many people, famous people right here in the studio.
That's right.
That's right. You know, historical people. You know, like the Davidians and FBI agents and everybody been sitting right here.
That's right.
So I hate to see this place go down if it does. I hate to see it, but we do have the internet now.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful.
But wouldn't you think it's been a tremendous run?
I think it's been a great run.
And like you say, a lot of people have contributed, both as coming down to the studio here to people calling in. And as you know, Mike, I took the Jeff Davis show on, put it on radio for about 6 years, 7 years. You remember way back when I was on Liberty Works Radio Network, and we were doing shows out there on Mount Carmel when you all were building a chapel out there. It's been an incredible run, really. And my acting, I got to tell you something. Something happened about 3 weeks ago. I had to miss it because I already had plans, but there was an audition for a major network television series that they wanted to audition me.
Well, I hope it
and see,
wasn't...
and an audition doesn't mean extra work. That means part of the cast. And the reason why it's so significant is because it was an ABC television series called My Generation, where I got that big pay bump and became AFTA eligible. So but now it's ABC requesting another audition, an audition for me for a regular TV series. There, I had to miss it. I already had plans to Galveston and all over, but so these are the kinds of things that I think I'm knocking at the door to really making something happen.
Well, we have this guy calling in just a minute, so we don't have that long. But did you want to talk a little bit about...
Let's talk a little bit of... I want to try a call real quick.
Well, that's probably him.
That's
he probably
him?
called
Okay.
in. Hold on a second.
Let's talk a little bit about the fires.
Well, here's a few pictures.
Is that the Gonzales Cannon?
Well, this is what was coming toward us here. About 20 miles from Gonzales. So we were, we didn't... That was coming toward us, Jeff. So, and we got all the smoke and the ash and everything else. And my sister-in-law she didn't have any insurance on her mobile home, so we had to go move her furniture out of her mobile home and then move it back in. And the next day they said evacuate again. I said, just leave it on the trailer. It's just too much back and forth stuff. She lives in Cedar Creek, if you know where that's at.
Oh, yeah. We were just out at Bassett State Park, and there's a dinosaur park out in Cedar Creek where we took Jacob. And
I wonder if that made it.
I think, by the way, there was also 3 fires in Pflugerville, but they were fortunate enough to have them contained.
But one of your friends and my friends that's been on the show quite often is in that paper right there. If you want to get as missing, they got him, and he has a place out here too. And Jeff, can you get any closer?
Long time friend, has been a guest, appeared on this show.
If you go to your YouTube channel, you can see him on there.
I think so. Yeah.
That right there, Steve Ingram. He's the only one still missing in that fire.
But
we think we've been able to track him down.
Oh, we've tracked him.
Yeah.
He's in Illinois.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We think we've been able to track him down, but the authorities don't know that. I've called 3 times, and they keep, I said, you need to go out to the trailer house, see if it's still standing. And they have never called me back to tell me if it's still standing. Of course, they ain't going to let you in there unless you have a ID or something to get into the neighborhood. So, thank God he got out, or he wasn't there.
Yeah, he's actually in Illinois, staying with his mother.
There was also an article in the Gonzales Enquirer, the Gonzales Canon, about how the Texas National Movement went out there with a bunch of firefighters, retired firefighters, and the federal people turned them away. So
that's Dan Miller.
Yeah. So I didn't like that either, how that was.
I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah, it's in here.
It's in the Gonzales Canon, yeah.
And you can go to the GonzalesCanon.com to read that story. But I'm going to go and see if this guy, did you want to play that short 4-minute piece before you talk to
yes.
Mr. Allison? He's facing 75 years in prison in Illinois.
For video recording a cop?
Well, he'll tell you about that, and a judge. And also, it stems from them trying to steal cars and all this kind of stuff.
Getting back to the show real quick here. Do you know how many things we've been right on with this show? It's amazing, isn't it?
If you look back, it's probably, 90%?
Pretty much.
I mean, I don't think I ever talked about Y2K.
I think we were right about Waco.
Oh,
we can't
definitely right about Waco.
We're right about Wilco.
Yeah,
we're right about this progression of tyranny that was. We were talking about ID cards and biometric technology way back in the 1995,
1996, 95.
Yeah, way back. We were talking about a lot of the Hegelian dialect creating crises and all this stuff. It's amazing.
Jeff, are you able to hit that on the computer?
Hey, I think that's calling your cell phone.
Okay, well.
Okay, by the way, I put this book up here, too. I want to do this on. Oh, yeah, have him come on in. I talked about this.
Well, let me just say this.
Go ahead.
If I don't ever see all the nice people out there I've met over the years, it was a great run, Jeff. And I think we got one more show, and that's it.
We got one more show next week.
Yeah.
Hey, Gary.
Yeah. Good to see you.
We're discussing the future of the Jeff Davis Show here at Channel Austin. And from all rumors and every innuendo, things are not looking good down here.
Well, did you get the email about the new hours?
No,
I didn't. They're going to be closed on Wednesday, and the hours are going to be like 4 hours a day when they'll be open.
4 hours a day. Are they going to have live series? Or that wasn't? I heard that might even be on the Hatchin.
Well, I haven't heard that. I'm just telling you what I actually got in an email. I'm surprised you didn't get it.
They probably don't want me to come back. But
I stand
by
it was a mass email to all the producers, I think.
I stand by what I said 3 weeks ago. If the Jeff Davis Show somehow fizzles out of Channel Austin, that's the end of Channel Austin.
Yeah,
that's what I believe.
Yeah,
if this show gets pushed out, or by the way, look at this.
Yeah, I saw that.
Pat Robertson, a big media magnate, has a book with his name on it.
The New World Order.
Yeah, but he doesn't talk about it much.
No. Yeah.
So I just kind of wonder.
Texmar says he didn't even write it.
Yeah, I know that. It was a ghost writer. But
he may have been saying
he did announce about 6 weeks ago or 6 months ago on his show that he thought America should end pot prohibition.
Yes.
So there's a potential, and that's kind of a big. He's pretty big in the social conservative movement.
Right.
So for him to say that, it could be a sign that he could be a potential liberty advocate here one of these days. Hopefully so, because he's got such a huge.
He is in some ways. I mean, he's certainly he's pretty good on economics and that kind of thing. So he's okay on some things.
Is he?
Yeah.
It'd be nice. I challenge him to talk more a little bit about this book here with his name on it. What's that all about?
Yeah, right. Good question.
But I was just telling Mike that I want to ask you, Gary, why is it? I understand that people should be humble. I understand that. But if somebody thinks they're a star, what's wrong with saying, "Hey, you're a star"?
Oh, because that's a mistake. Because
you think it is?
Oh yeah, humility. Oh shucks, I'm just poor old country boy.
I think everybody though should look at their life as
you're winning
as the best. As the best life ever.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it.
That's my advice.
And there's been so many things. You've been watching the show almost since the beginning.
Yes.
How many things has this show been right about over the
well,
years?
yeah, don't have a number.
But a lot.
Yes.
A good my cancer said a good 90%.
Right, and we're seeing a lot of it happening right now.
Yeah.
It's coming. It's like, right now, and it's going to get more. Yeah.
By the way, a friend of mine, I don't know if you were watching out there.
Yeah, I was.
A friend of mine named Steve Ingham. I love Steve Ingham. He's got some mental issues that he really, I think, needs professional help with. I really can't help him with his issues, but he showed up as a missing person in the Bastrop wildfire. But he is. I got 2 calls on my answering machine from him today, and he is currently residing with his mother in Illinois. So I guess he's. Mike, you said he was the last one unaccounted for. Last one unaccounted for. So we've had to. What's your take on these wildfires? Are you a little bit suspicious about what's going on with all these wildfires popping up?
Honestly, no. I mean, I haven't studied it enough to say that. The weather is kind of suspicious, but I don't know. They say it's HARP or it's weather control, and that's why we're having all the dry.
Oh, you're hearing some of that?
Well, that's what some people say.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It is. Interesting.
It is.
It's such a large area affected, and we're right in the middle of it, I guess.
There was 3 wildfires going on at the same time in Pflugerville last week. They were all basically contained, but 3 fires just in Pflugerville. Where you got to wonder where all that's.
Well, it's been so dry. It doesn't surprise me that there are fires. That doesn't surprise me.
It does.
The weather surprises me more than the fires themselves. If it's been hot and it's been dry, you're going to have fires.
We got to play his pieces. The guy's calling in at 8:30.
Okay.
Mike Allison,
Okay.
Do you know about that case, Gary?
No, but I'd like to hear about it.
Yeah. Well, you're going to. Please pay attention, Jeff.
Okay. Well, basically, this fella's calling in from Illinois, and he's facing 75 years in prison for recording police, for video recording of police.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, that's a tragedy, and I'd like to know what he was doing, because I want to know what he was recording, because obviously somebody's hiding something.
Well, he's going to be calling in here about 8:30. So what's his name again, Mike? Mike Allison? Okay, he's scheduled to call in here at 8:30 from Illinois and tell us the situation. I was actually
do we have a video? Is that what?
Yeah, that's what we're going to go to. So this is basically, let me explain it, Mike. This is a newscast from about a man in Illinois who basically is facing 75 years in prison for videotaping, video recording the police and a judge, right, Mike? I think Mike said a judge as well. So he's just out recording, see what actions the government are doing, and he's facing long jail sentence.
Yeah, what'd you say, Jeff? Because I had to go to the control room.
He recorded a judge too.
Well, it's on the newscast, but he's also going to explain why he thinks it's all. You're going to ask him questions, Gary, like you do. Listen to the newscast. This is the update newscast. But there's 3 newscasts that got 250,000 hits on our, or 270,000 hits on our YouTube.
Yeah.
So go to Mike Hansen Archives at youtube.com to get the earlier newscasts.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so here we go, folks. Here's, I guess it's from Illinois, a newscast from Illinois.
We begin tonight with an update to our investigation that's been watched more times than any other story on our website ever. It's a court case that could affect anyone who uses a cell phone or any recording device. It involves a local man who faces prison time for recording law enforcement in public. The state of Illinois considers it so serious that the Assistant Attorney General appeared at today's court hearing.
Man facing 75 years for recording the police.
Before another hearing at the Crawford County Courthouse, citizens protested the charges against Michael Allison. If convicted, 75 years in prison is his possible sentence for recording on-duty law enforcement in public. Police in Robinson, Illinois confiscated Allison's recorder, so we can't play it for you. But similar incidents have happened to other Americans.
It's illegal right now what you're doing.
They eventually got their recordings back and posted them on YouTube.
It's a felony if you're taping.
You guys are public
And recording.
A dozen states are using eavesdropping and wiretapping laws to arrest people who record audio of law enforcement without their permission.
I'm not shutting it off. Officer, well, you going to jail.
That's for recording on-duty authorities in public or even on your own property.
This is my front yard. I'm just recording what you're doing.
This woman was arrested and dragged out of her front yard for recording police. One man was even arrested for recording officers inside his own home. It can even happen in your own car. This man and his girlfriend pulled over to record this fatal police shooting in South Florida.
He got to be dead now.
As they drove away, the man recording police was ordered out of his car at gunpoint. He says police smashed his cell phone, but they didn't destroy the memory card, so the video survived. In all of these recording cases, the charges were eventually dropped, but not in the Robinson, Illinois case. Why do you still want to prosecute this case?
No comment, thanks.
Other cases, the charges have been dropped. Why don't you drop these charges? Crawford County State's Attorney Tom Wiseman is prosecuting Michael Allison. Tom? The Illinois Assistant Attorney General has joined the case. Eric Levin told the judge citizens don't have a constitutional right to record law enforcement. I mean, do you really think people should go to prison for recording law enforcement in public?
I would urge you to, call the Illinois Attorney General's office, and the spokesperson would be glad.
But you are the spokesperson here.
But I'm not the official spokesperson.
But you just spoke in court. Why can't you talk to us now?
I can't make any comment to you right now. I'm sorry.
But the Attorney General's office really thinks citizens should go to prison for recording law enforcement in public? These officials we interviewed are considered law enforcement. We were able to record them without their permission because journalists are exempt at public hearings. Otherwise, we would also be violating the Illinois eavesdropping statute. Journalists in other states have been arrested for recording law enforcement in public without their consent.
Put it down. Put it down. Put it down.
This reporter and photographer were arrested for recording police. The charges in both cases were dropped. Michael Allison's attorney told the judge their case should be dismissed instead of going to trial. They argue it's unconstitutional that law enforcement can record citizens in public or even in the courtroom, but not the other way around.
There's nothing wrong with recording public officials in the public capacity. I feel like if they're paid for by the taxpayers' monies, then we should have every right to hold them accountable.
If this case does go to trial, it could affect anyone who uses a cell phone or any recording device. And the judge is expected to rule in the next few weeks if this case will go to trial.
Yes. Pretty shocking.
Very shocking. It's fascinating. So here we have a man in Robinson, Illinois, who was, it sounds to me like he was using his cell phone to just record the police, and they are going after him. They charged him with 5 felonies, and he's threatening to sue the city, but they've offered him a plea deal, and this is happening all over the country. There are 12 states where it is under the old eavesdropping laws. They say you can't record in public. This is not in private or without people's knowledge. This is out in public, holding the cell phone in front of somebody, so it's not some kind of secret thing. I don't know if that's him on the line or not.
Is that him, Mike? Okay, we're going to bring him to the line. Hello, is this Mike Allison?
Yes, it is.
Hello, sir. This is Jeff Davis. It's a long-running Jeff Davis show here in Austin, Texas. Thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Now, we just played a couple news clips. Where are those news clips? Are they coming from Illinois media sources or?
Well, the area where I'm located is right on the Indiana-Illinois line, and we don't have any big TV stations on the Illinois side. So the story originated from Terre Haute, Indiana, and it's Channel 2. It's a WTWO Channel 2 out of Terre Haute, Indiana, and Patrick Fazio was the one that did the reporting.
What's that, an NBC, ABC?
NBC affiliate.
NBC affiliate out of Terre Haute, Indiana.
Right.
Okay, Michael, so we got, some of the gist there from the newscast. Tell us exactly, your story.
Well, basically, it started back in 2001, and an incident in 2003, and an incident in 2005, which took place in Bridgeport, Illinois, which is where I live. And it originated over a city ordinance that the city put into place, and the false pretense of the ordinance was basically to get rid of any junk, eliminate any junk cars from the city limits. And why I say it's a false pretense is because they're not using that ordinance in that manner. And in my own particular case, I had 3 classic cars on my private property, and 2 of them were in the process of being restored, and I had already rebuilt and restored the motors in both of them. They were classic Buicks, 60s Buicks, and the third car was a 60s Oldsmobile, and it had been wrecked, and the wrecked parts had been dismantled, and it was not drivable, and it was in pretty rough shape. And all 3 cars were not registered, and their ordinance requires current and valid registration and insurance on the vehicle for it to set on private property, even if you're not driving it. And in 2001, whenever this all came up, I went to City Hall to meet with the mayor and the chief of police to find out what my rights were and what I might need to do to comply with it. And the way it all turned out was I ended up having to buy registration for all the vehicles on the property, regardless of the fact that I wasn't even driving the cars.
Yep.
All right, so important. I want to emphasize this, Mike. You were in compliance with the ordinance?
They were saying that I was in violation of the ordinance because my cars were not registered.
But you did register them eventually.
In 2001, that was my only way to comply was to register the cars. And then I talked to a local attorney to find out what my rights were after in 2003, they had sent me another notice saying that I was in violation once again. So
how were you in violation?
They were saying because they were in my driveway and not completely enclosed within a building, they had access to be able to see the license plate, and they just run the plate and find out that it's not valid, not current, and if it's not valid and up to date registration, then they say you can't have that car on your property. And the only way to comply with the ordinance is to put registration on the car, and then that still isn't a complete fix because after the chief of police basically threatened me. After I said I would just register all the cars,
yes,
he said, if you think you can put registration on those cars and just let them sit there, I'll still haul them off for inoperable vehicle. And I said, every one of them starts. And he said, but can you drive them out on the road? And I said, no, I can't drive them out on the road. That's the reason why I'm working on them. And I said, there's little things wrong with each one of them, and I'm repairing and restoring the car. And so he said, if you can't drive them out on the road, then they're inoperable. And he said, I'll still haul them off. So I didn't know what to do at that point. So I tried to go over his head to the sheriff's department in Lawrence County, and ended up getting threatened over there too. And,
so initially that you were terrorized over these cars sitting on your property.
Yeah, they were basically saying they wanted those cars, and I had no right to keep them because they were in violation of the ordinance.
Yeah.
And so in 2003, I purchased the registration and just hoped for the best. And then because I was threatened at the sheriff's department and I knew there was no other authority that I could go to, I decided to go back to the chief of police and have him sign off on the notice saying that I complied and that was the end of the matter. So he did sign it, and nothing happened until 2003 when they sent another notice saying that the registration that I bought in 2001 had expired. And so in 2003, I had talked to an attorney, and he said, don't worry about the 10-day notice. Wait until they write a ticket. Once they write a ticket, you can fight it, you can bring it to me, and we'll take care of it. So I was waiting for a ticket to be issued, and for any due process that I should be entitled to under the Constitution and the laws of the land. And so when they sent the first notice, I basically ignored it, waiting for a ticket. And it was May of 2003, and 3 months went past, and in August 8th of 2003, they sent a second notice saying with a handwritten threat that I had that they had sent me notice on May 1st and that I did nothing, and 10 days from now, if you don't show proof of valid registration on your vehicles, they will be towed away, is the way they put it.
Wow.
So I basically ignored that notice also because I was still waiting for a ticket. And the 10 days had came and went, and they didn't take the cars. There was no action taken. The 3 more months went past, and no action was taken. So in November of 2003, on November 9th, I was planning to leave the state to go to Arizona on a construction job. So on November 9th, I was preparing to leave, and I left on the 9th, and I found out later, because I was already gone, that on the 10th of November of 2003, they came onto my private property and illegally seized 2 of the cars.
Wow.
They took the 2 Buicks, the ones that were more valuable, the ones that ran, and the old Oldsmobile that had been wrecked, and it was in rough shape and everything. It was parked 50 feet away from one of the Buicks they took, and it stayed right there on the property.
So this is more than just recording police. This is they're actually thieves.
That's exactly with the after they took action against me in 2003. And this continued. I eventually filed a lawsuit, and with that lawsuit, I discovered that there was more to it than what it seemed on the surface. And so backing back up, in 2003, when I got my cars back after they were illegally seized, my mother actually did it because I was. She got them back for me because I was in Arizona, on my way to Arizona. So she came to get my mail on the 15th to pick up my mail, and she noticed the cars were gone and assumed that the city was responsible because of all the threats that were leading up to it. And so she tried to get in touch with the city. There was nobody at City Hall. She tried calling City Hall. No one would answer. So she called the Illinois State Police and reported the car stolen. And the state police officer came and did an investigation, found out where the cars were at and why they were taken. And he told the state police officer told my mother and her brother, my uncle, on a couple of occasions during that whole investigation that what the city had done was illegal, and that a good attorney could fight this.
Who said it was illegal?
The Illinois State Police officer who showed up to do the investigation for the stolen vehicle report. And I don't have his name right here handy.
Okay.
But he told my mother on a couple of occasions during that investigation that they had acted improper, and that they didn't have the authority to do what they did, and that they were enforcing the ordinance illegally. And he said that a good attorney could fight this. So in 2003, we got the cars back. She found out where they were. She had to pay all kinds of fees and everything. They call them towing fees and impound storage fees. But they're not towing fees because we didn't call to have them towed. They were illegally seized without the legal authority to do so, and then we had to pay extortion fees to get them back.
Yep, that's about right.
So we got them back. She got them back and had them put back on the property, and they forced her to buy registration as a condition to even get them returned. If she didn't comply with everything they told her she had to do, they was going to keep those cars, and they even threatened to do so. They said, we can get a title for these cars within 20 days. And so she was concerned about that. She knew she didn't want to allow them to get the titles to the cars, so she was doing everything she could to get them back. So in 2003, the registration was valid again. And so they sat there for, I stayed out in Arizona working for 6 months straight. And so when I got back in 2005, this whole situation started all over again. They issued another 10-day notice saying that the registration that was purchased in November of 2003 had expired, and they were in violation of the ordinance. So I took the attorney's advice once again. I ignored the notice and was waiting for a ticket. Well, they decided that they weren't going to issue a ticket once again, and with no tickets issued, no warrants, no search and seizure warrant, no order by a judge, they illegally seized the same 2 cars in 2005 and left the third car behind once again. Man. And it was the one that didn't run and had been wrecked. And so they took my 2 good cars once again. And in 2005, I was here in the local area and was able to deal with the situation. And when I got my cars back the second time, I was searching for an attorney to file a civil lawsuit in the federal court and challenge their action and the constitutionality of the ordinance that they were using to get my cars.
Yeah.
And so what I ended up doing was in discovery that took place, depositions, in 2007, I asked some specific questions to the tow truck operator, and I wanted to find out how they were obtaining titles to these cars that people were not able to either afford to get back or were not able to get back one way or the other. These people were keeping these cars, and he even told my mother that he was obtaining titles to the cars. So I wanted to know how they were getting these titles. So I asked him, and he answered, and then I had a follow-up question, and he answered that question. And based on his answers, I have requested documents from the state of Illinois Vehicle Services Department in Springfield, and based on the information that's on those documents, the ones that he would have to use to obtain a title for the cars that he's keeping illegally, he has to fraudulently and illegally submit an affirmation swearing that he obtained a lien on the car by performing some service provided or work performed on the vehicle done at the request of the vehicle owner. So, in other words, the legitimate lien would be generated if I requested my car to be towed from one place to another, mm-hmm. and then didn't pay the bill. Right. He would have a legitimate lien and would be able to obtain a title for that against my car for that lien.
Michael, this testimony, was that recorded in this deposition?
Yes, it was recorded, and it was under oath.
Okay.
And I have the transcripts for that. And so basically, whenever the way that if you were going to legitimately obtain a title through a mechanic's lien or a storage lien, like he was suggesting, that affirmation says that lien was done at the request of the vehicle owner, and I didn't request my vehicles to be removed from my private property, and he did it anyway at the request of the law enforcement that was involved, and so that makes it an illegitimate lien, and he sends the fraudulent paperwork to Springfield swearing that it's not a fraudulent lien and that it's actually a legitimate lien to get these titles.
All right, Michael, I don't want to step on your story, so if I'm moving you forward too much, you let me know, but this is all very important, and I have a lot of questions, and I know Jeff has a lot of questions about what you've told us so far, and these are important issues, but it seems that the authorities have somehow turned this into a completely different controversy about you eavesdropping and illegally, quote unquote, taking recordings. So how did your fight over your cars in your yard become a fight over you recording something?
Well, basically, the way it transitions into the next county, I'm starting out in Lawrence County in Bridgeport, Illinois, which is in Lawrence County. And the way that it transitioned to Crawford County and in Robinson, Illinois, which my mother lives in Robinson, I was in the process of restoring a 1987 Cadillac that actually belongs to my mother. It was her car, and it was parked in her driveway. It was on private property. And I was restoring the motor in that 1987 Cadillac for my mother. And I was in the backyard of my mother's house exactly 71 days after I had voluntarily dismissed my case against Bridgeport. And I did that strategically to be able to refile it within a year and all of my deadlines for my discovery restart. So I strategically dismissed the case against Bridgeport with the intent to refile it, and 71 days after I had done that, I was working on my mother's car, and I noticed a police car stopped in front of her house. So I walked up to the front of the house, and the police officer is a Robinson City police officer, and his name's Rutan, and his first name's William.
William Rutan.
William.
Now, what year was this?
This was actually in late 2008. It was in November of 2008.
Okay.
And I dismissed my case against Bridgeport in September of 2008. And so I was working on this car, and here comes the Robinson City Police, and he gets out of his car, and he tells me that the vehicles that are sitting parked in the driveway are in violation of the city ordinance, and because I happen to have a 1974 Chevrolet pickup truck that I was rebuilding the motor in it also parked right beside my mother's Cadillac, and I owned the pickup. So he said that the two vehicles that were parked in the driveway were in violation of this ordinance, and that they were going to take action against me. So I told him, I said, the Cadillac belongs to my mother, and the pickup belongs to me. And I said, I know what this is all about. I've dealt with it in the city of Bridgeport, and if you take any action against me or cause me to have to pay any fines or anything like that, then I'm going to sue you and sue the city over the same issue, just like I did the city of Bridgeport. And eventually we got into the whole situation that that I was basically telling them flat out that I was going to expose their scheme, just like I had done with the city of Bridgeport, because I had already mentioned in my court case, laid out every piece step by step of how they were obtaining these titles fraudulently and illegally, and how they were doing it step by step. And I did that before I dismissed the case. So they already knew that I knew every piece of information that I needed to be able to prove that everyone involved in this is involved in a vehicle theft and extortion racket, and it's a racketeering situation. It's a conspiracy to commit racketeering and extortion.
All right, Michael,
and I laid out every piece of it in my court case before I dismissed it.
When you were talking with this William Rutan, were you recording that conversation?
At the first time, whenever he first showed up, it caught me off guard. I wasn't prepared for it.
Okay.
So once the threats and the intimidation was taking place during that first incident, I started thinking I need to be prepared for whatever's to come next.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically where I started documenting everything that I could that was involved in this whole illegal scheme.
Yeah. So what took video recording equipment when they came on your property and started recording them, or what?
Basically, some of the reports that say video, that's not right. The recording involved in question is just audio only. And
it's audio, all right. With your cell phone or what?
It's just a digital recorder.
A digital recorder.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the brand or what kind of?
It was an Olympus.
Okay.
Olympus DS30, I believe, is the brand.
All right. Thank you. I didn't need that much detail, but you just have this little recorder, and so every time you're confronting someone from the local police, you record them. Do they see the recorder?
At various times, I had it right out in the open, and at various times, maybe they didn't know it. I don't know.
I got you.
I don't know. The point of that issue is that I never tried to hide it.
Right.
And they knew what was taking place whenever every time that they had an incident where they came and tried to harass me, they knew that I was documenting it. And the next incident when Rutan showed up, it happened right on my mother's front step on her front porch. And how they can claim an expectation of privacy whenever they came here and to harass and threaten me on my mother's property.
Right.
And that, it's not like that I walked into their bathroom or something.
Exactly.
In their own house. They came here to threaten me. So I didn't invite them, and I told them I just wanted to be left alone. I told them I knew what this was all about. I've dealt with it before, and I just wanted to be left alone.
So I'd like to give a little editorial comment here, Mike, if you don't mind. It seems to me that the police, here they have cameras on the police cars recording them, and you might have a security camera in somebody's home, and so it's pretty normal these days to find yourself being recorded. I believe, and I'll get your comment on this, or maybe you don't want to touch this, it seems to me that the police are hiding something. It seems to me that if the police were following the rules and doing everything by the book, they wouldn't mind you recording them.
Yeah.
But there's some reason why they don't want you to record them.
And that gets back to the backstory of everything that I've laid out. Is I'm not facing the potential time that this bogus eavesdropping statute calls for, simply because of the recordings may or may not exist. It's the bare fact that I was trying to and attempting to expose the underlying corruption and their whole scheme, and I threatened to basically bring down their whole scheme.
Okay,
and,
Michael, we've got about 6 minutes left. Where does it stand? So, were you arrested one day for videotaping them?
The way that all happened was they ended up issuing a citation saying that I was in violation of a city ordinance in a city that I don't even reside in, and I don't own any private property in. But they were saying that I was in violation of a city ordinance that governs real property located in the city limits of the city of Robinson, which basically means that the citation they wrote out was bogus and without jurisdiction, without merit. And that citation sent me to a court in Crawford County, and I knew that the court case was going to be just as crooked and bogus as what the police were. And so I went the day before the court hearing and requested a court reporter, and my request was denied. I was talking to the circuit clerk, and she denied my request. I re-requested. She denied it again, and while I was talking to her, I had my digital recorder in my hand, and it was turned off at the time, and I was using it as a visual aid. And I said, I want a record made of this court hearing because I intend to use it as to sue the city police, the city attorney, and everybody involved in this whole vehicle scam, and just like I did the city of Bridgeport. So I told them flat out every time that I was dealing with them that I was going to take action against them for what they were doing against me.
Were you ever taken to jail just specifically for the audio recording?
Yeah, that gets into the whole situation that happened the very next day. Even though I never specifically said that I intended to record the court hearing, they anticipated that I had intended to, and they knew that in advance and never told me you can't do this. You know, they didn't volunteer the fact that would be prohibited. They just the circuit clerk at some point in time, in between the time that I talked to her on January 12th of 2009 and the 13th of the very next day of 2009, the judge that was sitting in over this bogus ordinance hearing, and the sheriff deputy who was acting as a bailiff, the city attorney who was prosecuting the alleged ordinance violation, everyone in that courtroom knew what was about to happen when I walked through that door, except for me. And what basically happened was, as soon as I walked through the door, the judge looked right at me as I was putting the recorder in my pocket. I was facing her and walking through the door at the same time. And she didn't even start the hearing, and she asked me a question while I was still walking through the door. She said, "Do you have a recording device on you?" And I responded. She said, "Is it turned on?" And I said, I responded once again. So when she heard the answer to those two questions, she proceeded to read the Illinois eavesdropping statute that she had laid out on her desk. It was already open to the page, and the book was open, and she quoted the statute based on the fact that I answered those two questions, and now that she has confirmed that I have the recorder, she quotes the statute and then informs me that I have just committed a Class 1 felony offense of eavesdropping against her personally, because she did not give her consent to being recorded, and I violated her right to privacy in this open court hearing.
Okay, now where did the 75 years? Where did the 75 years in prison? Where did that come from?
She went on to after she told me to turn it off. She read the statute and said that I was just in violation of a Class 1 felony, or that I had just committed a Class 1 felony, and she told me to turn it off. So then she goes ahead and proceeds with this bogus ordinance hearing, and even though she's just told me that apparently I'm a criminal, and that she's apparently the alleged victim of this alleged crime, she goes ahead and instead of instantly having me arrested, or even instantly recusing herself from going further with this bogus court hearing, she goes ahead with this bogus court hearing, and at the end of this hearing, she sets a court date for a bench trial, and then tells me that I'm free to go. And the sheriff deputy, who was acting as a bailiff, stopped me at the door and said, "You're under arrest for eavesdropping." And I said, "She told me to turn it off," and I turned it off. And he said, "You're under arrest for eavesdropping with the circuit clerk yesterday and with the city attorney's secretary about a week ago." So he asked me, "Am I going to have any problem?" And he was reaching for his handcuffs. And I said, "No, I can't believe that I can't believe this is even happening, but you ain't going to have any problem. You do whatever you got to do."
Okay, Michael, we got a minute to go. So what do you think is going to be the ultimate? Obviously, none of us here want to see you go to jail over this,
right?
So what's your attack here? We got about a minute to go, and we're off the air.
Okay. My attorney has came onto the case, and he's challenged the constitutionality of this eavesdropping statute.
Yes.
And that's basically where it rests right now, is that we have a motion to dismiss based on the fact that the statute is unconstitutional,
Who came up with this 75 years in prison business?
Basically, that's what the statute calls for. I didn't explain that part of it. Once they seized the recorder, they went through the recorder after they illegally obtained the recorder and kept it illegally. Once they had let me go, they kept the recorder and went through it and found every other instance where they wanted to hit me with another count.
Okay.
So that's where they piled them all on, and where they had what they were saying is that they have evidence to.
Michael, Allison, thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
We're at the end of the show. If you want more information, you can go to Mike Hansen Archives on YouTube.com.
Okay, see you next week, folks. Maybe for the last time.